Hello, and welcome to the Velocity Pitch Competition Finals for spring of 2023, here from our new venue at the Theater of the Arts. Thank you. My name is John Dick. I am the campus director of Velocity, and I'll be your MC today. We have 7 student finalists all pitching for their chance at one of 4 $5,000 grants. The University of Waterloo acknowledges that much of our work takes place on the traditional territory of the neutral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples. Our main campus is situated on the Haldeman Tract, the land granted to the Six Nations that includes 6 miles on each side of the Grand River. Our active work towards reconciliation takes place across our campuses through research, learning, teaching, and community building, and is coordinated within the Office of Indigenous Relations. This term, we received over 80 applications covering a wide range of industries. Of those, 23 semifinalists were selected who pitched 2 weeks ago. From those semifinalists, 8 were selected. Unfortunately, Andrew Cortson David, founder of Head First, had to unexpectedly travel home and is unable to pitch. So there will be 7 pitches today. Here is the format. Each team will have 3 minutes to pitch, followed by 3 minutes of Q&A from our distinct panel of judges, who I will introduce to you now. Ramneek Singh is currently serving as an associate on the University of Waterloo Student Venture Fund, which focuses on evaluating and investing in early-stage companies. Ramneek was recently part of the finance and performance consulting team at Deloitte, where she worked with companies of various sizes to enhance the finance function of their organization and develop a finance strategy. Prior to this, Ramneek has experience working as an auditor at Ernst & Young and a job developer at a local nonprofit organization. Ramneek's academic background is in accounting and financial management, with a focus on financial markets. Welcome, Ramneek. James Lohman holds a Bachelor's of Math in Applied Mathematics and an MASc in Chemical Engineering from the University of Waterloo. As CEO of Cauchy Analytics, James combines his experience in electrical engineering, applied math, and strong interpersonal skills to develop innovative, non-invasive cardiac heart monitoring solutions for ICUs. James won the 5K pitch competition in winter of 2022 with Cauchy Analytics and has since joined the Venture Ready program at the Velocity Incubator. Welcome, James. Amber French is an entrepreneur and investor. She is a co-founder of Catalyst Capital, focused on innovative investments in Waterloo region. Catalyst Commons, a 70,000 square foot co-working space at Catalyst 137, and Archangel Network of Funds, a Canadian venture fund that aims to make angel investing more accessible. Amber is a proud University of Waterloo alum holding a Bachelor of Science. Welcome, Amber. Here is our order of proceedings for today. You will see 4 of our finalists pitch, followed by a short intermission. Then we will round it off with the final 3 pitches. At this point, the judges will leave to deliberate, and you in the audience will all get your chance to vote for the People's Choice Award, the winner of whom will receive $500. During the deliberation, I will be joined on stage by Akash Vaswani, general partner of the newly launched Velocity Fund, for Fireside chat and Q&A. So now, with no further ado, let's get on to the pitches. Our first team this afternoon offers a VR speech therapy solution targeted towards people with communicative disorders to supplement or provide an alternative for those who cannot access or afford dedicated speech therapy. Here to pitch on behalf of Pragmatica is Karthik Prasad, currently earning his Master's of Computer Science.
Hi everyone, I'm Karthik, and I'm presenting Pragmatica, the VR speech therapy kit. 1 in every 12 children suffers from communicative disorders like autism and SCD and struggle to communicate and understand the people around them. They need speech therapy as soon as possible, but it's both expensive and inaccessible. as it costs $150 an hour for a single speech therapy appointment in Ontario. And even if you can't afford this, it'll take 6 to 12 months before you can even get that appointment. There are some current alternatives to this, like online video exercises or live teletherapy, but the video exercises really lack in interactivity, and the live teletherapy is still limited by therapist availability. This is where our solution, Pragmatica, comes in. It consists of curated VR activities that mimic the kind of exercises that are done in speech therapy sessions, so you can practice your skills without the need of a therapist. And on the other end, speech therapists have a dashboard that they can use to monitor your progress and even assign you activities that they deem fit. Here's an example of one of our activities, ordering food at a restaurant. You may think this easy, but you have to wait in line, walk up when the cashier calls you, order and pay for your food, and pick it up in a different spot. There's a lot of social cues and niche interactions here that people with communicative disorders struggle with, and they can learn this in a safe 3D environment with feedback and tips along the way. We plan to sell our product as a subscription plan for $50 a month for access to all our activities. And we plan to do this in a B2B distribution by selling it to speech therapy clinics and school boards. The global speech therapy market was valued at $9.9 billion in 2020 and is projected to grow to over $17 billion in 2031. We see this gap in the market where there's not nearly enough speech therapists to serve all these people with communication disorders, and we want to bridge that gap with Pragmatica. We work with speech therapists to build up a lo-fi prototype and are using that to create our MVP. We want to do our pilot testing over the next month and then do a private launch at January next year before doing a public rollout in May. This is where the 5K comes in. There's 3 speech therapy clinics across Ontario that have agreed to conduct paid pilots with us, but we need the $5,000 to help us pay for the development assets, hosting fees, and the VR headsets so we can run these pilots and further validate our product. Our team has both the business acumen and the technical experience to build our product and grow the company, and we have a group of speech therapy advisors who can help guide us along the way. We are Pragmatica, and we want to revolutionize the speech therapy industry by ensuring that everyone across the world has access to the speech therapy that they deserve. Thank you.
Okay, you can hear me? Great job. So I have a son, my 9-year-old. We went through this with him and had to wait 6 months, so I definitely see the value in this kind of a solution. Just a quick question about, have you validated that $50 per month? Have you had discussions with speech therapists and potential school boards? Because it actually seems low to me. Like if people are willing to spend the $150 per session, is that the price point that's right, or can you be actually charging more?
And we're still trying to figure out our exact pricing, as we want to keep it accessible for people who can't afford that speech therapy in the first place. But yeah, we're still working on our margin to make it fair for both us and the other party.
And just one other question. Have you spoken with any headset providers? So one of the companies that we're into right now, we ended up getting free headsets just based on kind of the use case of what we were proposing. So Lenovo, if it's somebody who you want to have a reference to or referral into, to potentially get free headsets, then just contact me after the session here.
We've definitely deliberated over this. Because it's with such a sensitive population, we're making sure that our headsets that we use have really good safety features and make sure that people can use them properly. So currently we're just developing with the Meta Quest 2, which has a lot of safety features, as you guys know about. But yeah, in the future, we want to validate that we can get good headsets that will work properly and not cause any harm to our users. But that's definitely a plan in the long term, which will help bring down the cost of our product too.
Awesome, thank you.
So as Amber mentioned, I definitely see the problem here and the value in this solution. One question that I had is, you mentioned that kind of a potential market for this could be selling to schools, for example. Who else do you see as your customer? And in terms of actually using this solution, how would that work? So would the individual need somebody to help set this up, for example? How easy is it to use, basically?
Yeah. In terms of the first part of the question, we are starting off with speech therapy clinics and schools to make sure that we can have it in a controlled way, that we don't want to give it out to everyone. We want to make sure that we work with people to develop the activities and make sure the activities can help them. And once we've built up a good collection of activities that we can trust and the people using it can trust, we can also roll it out in B2C and sell it to any consumers who don't have the money to go to speech therapy clinics or don't have any budget in their schools. So there's a lot of avenues to sell this everywhere, and it's a very scalable solution because once we have the activities, it's just a software that we would give out. But we're careful in our early stages to not just give it out everywhere and maintain our quality properly. And for the second part, in terms of using the product, there's very minimal setup that needs to be done. If the person is okay with using VR, the app is very easy to use. It's just a simple menu, click the activity, and play it. But the reason we want to, again, work with speech therapy clinics at the start to ensure that this actually is true and validate that, oh, people are able to use it at home by themselves without a speech therapist. They don't run into too many problems. So we want to actually go to the speech therapy clinics, watch them use it, and understand any issues they have and work to fix it before we roll it out everywhere.
Okay, great, thank you.
Are we out of time? It looked like we were out of time. Yeah.
Thank you.
Our next team is a biotechnology company using innovative devices for eye product testing. IsoBio is led by Kaya Wong, a postdoctoral fellow at the Department of Chemistry.
More than 2 billion people in the world are suffering from eye diseases, but the current research for treatments is slow, expensive, and relies on animal testing. At IsoBio, we offer you an alternative, accelerating eye product development without animal testing. Hi everyone, I'm Kaya, CEO of IsoBio. I'm happy to share with you our missions. The traditional biological testing typically involves cell studies, animal studies, and clinical trials. But the difficulties of doing clinical trial has increased since COVID. And this year, FDA no longer require animal testing before clinical trials. That means in the future, we will rely more and more on cell study to determine if the experimental eye products are safe and effective. Unfortunately, the current cell testing platform counts on plates, flasks, dishes. Those are invented in 1950s. This static cell culture method are time-consuming, use a lot of reagents, and do not represent our eye environment, and less standardizations. These increase not only the cost, but also the failure rates to accurately predict the outcome in human. The reality is developing high-quality cell testing platform use a lot of R&D resources, and that could be better utilized in product development. This is where IsoBio comes in. We have our advanced technologies that combine cell-on-a-chip microfluidic device with powerful imaging system. This hand-sized device enables researchers to test their material in an eye-mimicking environment, providing standardized results on safety and effectiveness. We estimate that each researcher could save up to 30 to 15 Ks annually and cut down half of their research time. Our target customer are eye researchers in the market who want to test their material on eye cell. Our adjustable market is estimated to be $3 to $5 billion. To date, we successfully secure a pending paid project with Alcon, a leading pharmaceutical company specialized in eye care products, and 5 different projects or pilots with research groups at different universities worthwhile, proving that we have the ability to meet customer demands. Now the support from Velocity is going to accelerate our prototype developments, help file our professional patents, customer acquisitions, and marketing. Our founding team consists of talented postdocs backed by renowned advisors. Our partnership with 2 distinguished ocular research centers, SIVA and CORE, further validates our credibilities. We are confident that we can transform eye product testing and bring hope to hundreds of millions suffering from eye diseases. We are IsoBio, your one-stop solution for eye product testing. Thank you.
Hi there. Thanks for that. Who have you talked to so far to validate that the market exists the way you intend?
Okay. Formally, we have interviewed with industry and the director of the ocular research centers. And also informally, we talk to our colleagues, professors, researchers to know what they want. And through the interview, we know they somehow involved in product development, and they also encounter some difficulties in developing cell models. And after they know we have this very good products, they want to try our products. And
To that point, you mentioned a paid pilot. Can you
Yep.
talk a little bit about that? Just 20 seconds.
It is a project that they want us to try their material, see how they degrades in cells. So this is something I can tell you because it's quite confidential. So
That's understandable, but are they paying you or are you paying them?
sorry,
Are you paying them or are they paying you?
we are now discussing the price, so they are paying us in the future. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Sorry. So just again, back to just those paid pilots, how did those come about? Because it looked like there was one with Alcan, and then some with research facilities as well. How did you get those, and what was the time to kind of, what's the timeline to close one of those deals?
Yeah. We know all that companies or researchers through our network with Core and SIVA. So they know a lot of entrepreneur in the industry. So we threw them to know those company, and we hope to close 2 pilot by the end of September. So hopefully 1 pilot will last for 4 months, around 4 months. Yeah.
With the 5K, is that enough money to get you to do those pilots? So if they are paid, or are you going to need to raise additional capital outside of that?
Yeah, sure, we need to raise more money. But the 5K is only help us for get some material for building our prototypes, or help us to get our professional patents with application fee.
So sorry, what was your background again? Your bio?
I'm a biologist.
A biologist.
Yeah.
And then you had microfluidics on the team, and
Yeah, we have very talented postdoc who use a lot of microfluidics device and build a lot of microfluidics device throughout the 6 or 7 years in his PhD studies. Yeah.
how do you look at your go-to-market strategy beyond these paid pilots?
First, we want to serve those 2 research ocular institutions in the first 2 years. So there are around 200 individuals, 200 researchers. After that, we could refine our products, and after that, we could leveraging our networking through SIFA and Core to explore a bigger market.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's time.
This team is making innovative pregnancy monitoring simple. QuinnProc provides high-quality fetal and maternal monitoring solutions for use in hospitals or at home. Here to pitch for QuinnProc is Shweta Saravanan, a Master's of Electrical and Computer Engineering.
Innovative pregnancy monitoring made simpler. Do you know, according to WHO, every 7 seconds, a pregnant individual loses their life. And this alarming statistic underscores the pressing need for more personalized and incentive care for pregnant individuals. We, QuinnProc, aim to focus this issue. Our solution is a smart belt. This is an ambulatory smart wearable belt where it has real-time monitoring of the mother's and the children's vitals, promoting automated analysis report of the patient to doctor to prevent unnecessary panic in the environment. This also requires less external assistance and comes with a customized doctor and patient user and application. We are better from the existing and conventional methodology used in hospitals as they are expensive, non-ambulatory, and requires a doctor's assistant. QuinnProc overcomes this and stands in first of its kind way. We have conducted pilot studies of over 12 pregnant women in 3 hospitals, and they are willing to get this product once it's been launched in the market. India's mother and child healthcare market is projected to increase from 1.7 billion to 5 billion in 7 years, and the global pregnancy care market is expected to grow up to $43 billion by 2030. The soaring rise in this market is because of the rising birth rate and the awareness and acceptance for home-based pregnancy care products, as India, being a developing country, is ready to leverage its technology to revolutionize its healthcare for pregnant women. Our revenue model is a combination of B2B and B2B2C, where we are targeting audience of hospitals and pregnant women. We are incurring recurring revenue from the selling of wearable belts, and a recurring revenue is being generated by the selling of software subscription models. At the moment, a conventional CTG machine, which is used in hospitals right now, is costing up to $2,000 to $6,500 US. And the doctors right now are ready to pay around $1,000 for our product, and we're expecting to reduce this price by 90%. Using 5K, we want to productize the MVP and get the regulatories done to launch our product so that we'll be able to get this product into the market. We also plan to have a subsidiary in Canada, as we see the Northern American market is seeming to dominate the pregnancy care market here. This is a QuinnProc team of engineers who are working on this product. QuinnProc, we make stress-free pregnancy for pregnant women at home and hospitals. We aim to be comfortable, affordable, reliable, and empowering product. Thank you.
Yeah, I can start. So thank you for the presentation. My question is around understanding why do you think nobody has developed this so far? So like, what is so revolutionary about what you've done in terms of pregnancy monitoring that somebody else hasn't managed to come up with yet?
This is because patients have a fear that as a home-based device, people might not use it, but right now we are focusing on hospitals. And another base fear, this is right now there's been home-based pregnancy device being developed in India at the market, but does not provide with uterine contraction and fetal heartbeat. We have home-based devices back in India. It has been coming up. Right now, there are few products recently launching this device, but not matching as a wearable belt. It comes up to be either connected wired. It makes the patient to stay inside her bed. So to answer your question more precise, the products are being coming up, but they're not make you more user-friendly and precise.
Thank you.
Sure. Can you tell me just a little bit more about your choice for, it sounds like India obviously is a predominant market that you're going to target first versus US or Canada. Tell me about that decision, and then, yeah, I have a couple more questions about that.
Yeah, we are targeting first India. So we have conducted pilot studies, and we have oral tie-ups with hospitals who are willing to provide their patients to allow us the validation. That's how we have done the validation of data and the customer validation as well. We have talked over to 100 pregnant individuals and 13 gynecologists who are accepting this product and are willing to get it. So we have stopped, our first step will be in India.
What regulatory hurdles do you anticipate in the Indian market? And then, yeah, answer that one first.
The regulatory, the first thing is that it is a non-invasive product. So first, that basic hurdle is being removed out for us. And for us, it is based on the sensors and the radiation or the security, we are sending to remote monitoring. So the HIPAA compliance regulatory, the security, the data of the patient should be more secure. So the hurdles will be these obstacles which we are facing. We have to be, that is the reason we need 5K to productize our product to overcome all the hurdles for the FDAs.
And then last quick one, how does insurance factor into this? I'm less familiar with that geography.
Sorry.
How does insurance factor in? Is this something that's paid by the patient, or are there insurance plans that this could potentially fall under?
So in India, this insurance plan doesn't come up. So we are planning to sell it to the hospitals, where the hospitals can rent these bells out to patients. So where we are getting revenues from only the application from the user inside, or we'll be getting a profit percentage from the hospitals. Because again, as I said in the previous case, the patient might not be coming forward to get a pregnant monitoring device, as it is a child and it's a risk factor is there. But when the hospitals are seeing this is not a risk factor at all and they're willing to get it, so that's how we are trying to overcome it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Entangled Vision is creating a fast, easy-to-operate screening test which detects macular degeneration, the most common cause of blindness in Canada, with the click of a button before vision loss occurs. The team is led by Connor Kapai, a PhD student in physics.
I'm Connor Kapai, the co-founder of Entangled Vision. Our diagnostic device instantly detects age-related blindness before it actually occurs. Macular degeneration, or AMD, is the leading cause of blindness in people over 60. However, for every patient diagnosed with AMD, studies show there are at least 2 people who have AMD but have not been diagnosed yet. This is a problem because existing treatments are only effective at slowing or stopping vision loss. There are no treatments which reverse vision loss once it occurs. Our device creates invisible patterns in a beam of light. These patterns interact with the retina, creating visible patterns in a person's vision, like the image on the left. But these patterns are only visible to a person with a healthy macula, meaning a patient with AMD sees a blank beam, like the image on the right. The test we've designed is fast, requiring less than 1 minute per eye. And testing requires no special patient preparation or special training, so it can be operated by an optometry assistant instead of an eye doctor. Existing diagnostic methods require the evaluation of the retina by an expert. These screening tests can cost $40 to $90 per visit and are something that is not covered by standard health insurance. Our screening test can be priced as low as $15 per test, and our design allows us to upgrade the functionality of the device to test for other diseases in the future through software updates alone. Therefore, we plan to lease the device to clinics, charging a per-use licensing fee of $5 per test. Testing high-risk individuals in the US is potentially a $1 billion annual market. The global patient testing revenue opportunity is over $20 billion. The US is particularly attractive because existing eye clinics generate 45% of their revenue through out-of-pocket patient expenses. As a PhD student, I developed the prototype device and conducted research trials at the University of Waterloo School of Optometry. My founding advisors, Dr. Sarnak and Professor Pushin, have been on this project since day one. We were the first people to apply structured light technology to vision health diagnostics. In our first preclinical trial, we tested 25 healthy patients and showed that all 25 can correctly see the patterns our device generates. Next, we developed a screening test and recruited 5 AMD patients and 5 healthy patients. All AMD patients failed our screening test, while all healthy patients passed. Most importantly, we showed your ability to see these patterns degrades before vision loss occurs. This year, our first patent was approved, and we submitted a second provisional patent. We're now seeking funding to develop a device alpha, which can be used under Health Canada's investigational testing approval. Once we're in 10 clinics across Canada, we can begin raising funds for full clinical trials, seeking FDA approval as a diagnostic device. $5,000 today will allow us to begin that process. Our device is fast and easy for clinicians to use. Clinics globally stand to generate $25 billion in revenue simply by testing currently undiagnosed patients. Testing revenue under our licensing fee scheme can reach $1 billion in the US annually. Thank you.
Cheers, Connor. I have absolutely no doubt that you guys can build this thing. But what are you doing right now to learn the business side of things? Because I noticed 3 researchers.
That's right. We are researchers right now. With our collaborations, both with the University of Waterloo School of Optometry and with the Center for Eye and Vision Research in Hong Kong, we're getting into a lot of discussions with practicing clinicians and clinicians who own and operate their own clinics. And what they're telling us is one of 3 things usually. Either they're excited by the possibility of offloading one of their jobs to an automated machine. They believe it's effective and they can diagnose it earlier, but they're unsure what to do once you actually detect it earlier. Fortunately, there's already work in the FDA on new treatments for macular degeneration, which work earlier. And then there's doctors who believe they can already diagnose it as early as we do. And that's something we're going to have to address through clinical trials.
All good, I understand. My curiosity is, what are you personally or your advisors and co-founders doing right now to become business people?
I took part in the Velocity Cornerstone program this past year and am preparing an event to enter the Venture Ready program. I'm also beginning to have early conversations with VC funds to talk about fundraising and, in general, learning as much as I can about how to turn research into business and picking up those skills as I go along.
Thank you.
Can you tell me just a little bit more about the, what IP has been filed so far? What was that patent for?
Right. The first patent, which has been approved, covers the technology, broadly speaking, which generates these patterns of light for the purposes of viewing or diagnosing on a biological sample. The second provisional patent, which was filed this year, covers some optics which are required to correctly take these patterns that we generate from the first patent covering device and put them into the eye properly. That's something we didn't realize when we first filed the patent in 2019, but is critical to actually work. So both patents really cover the physical device itself, both generating and projecting that state into the eye.
And you said that this was kind of the first product on the roadmap, and through software add-ons, you're looking at tackling additional diagnoses. What is on that roadmap, and how comprehensive do you see this getting?
Yeah, broadly speaking, what we do is we look at how the nerves in the eye are degrading. That means glaucoma, which is not the center of your vision, but more on the outside, could be diagnosed with this technology. Diabetic retinopathy is another target we're looking at, simply from how broad spread it is across the world. And all of these really come down to changing what patterns I'm putting into people's eyes and then recording in a screening test what their results are.
Okay, so as far as insurance goes, this would be something that would be covered by standard OHIP in Canada and kind of the equivalent in the US?
To begin with, it wouldn't be. It's something that would have to be a patient add-on, which is part of the reason we're targeting the US. Patients that are already very comfortable spending premiums to get superior care. I see the low cost of this device making it easier for insurance companies to put this on their list and accept, compared to one of the other competitors I had mentioned, which has been out for years, but it's still something you pay for out of pocket. The OCT device is not something covered by OHIP. And part of that, I think, is the device cost is pretty extreme for insurance companies.
Great. I think that's time. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello everyone, my name is Tina Wilton. I'm the Entrepreneurship Experience Manager at Velocity. I'm excited to announce Velocity's upcoming Innovation Challenge, Imagining the Future of Finance. We have partnered with Unity, Rogers, and the Bank of Montreal to design a challenge where University of Waterloo students will get to explore virtual reality and 5G technologies to bridge the gap between traditional banking and the needs for future generations. From September 19th to October 1st, we will have workshops and expert mentors focused on Unity, virtual reality, and 5G technologies. You will work in teams of 5 to design innovative solutions and pitch to win significant prizes. Scan the QR code to access our interest form to receive updates, including when our application opens. Thank you.
Okay, just a few more announcements before we let you go to intermission. So yes, please join or sign up for the Rogers BMO Unity hackathon, because that ought to be a really amazing event. For other programming we have from Velocity coming up this fall term, Velocity Foundations is going to explore what it feels like, an epidemic of loneliness among young people. The Center for Disease Control in the U.S. has found that from 2009 to 2021, high school students who have felt a persistent feeling of sadness or hopelessness rose from 26% to 44%. From our own experience, we have had several students, teams propose solutions to the problem of forming connections with other students. And yet, one would argue that with all the technology around us, that it has never been easier to form connections with people. So what is going on? That's what we are going to find out with Foundations next term. This is open to any student who is interested in solving the challenge of student mental health and well-being, and you can apply through our website or come talk to us at the intermission or after the show. More than half of the teams pitching tonight have gone through Velocity's Cornerstone program. So if you have an idea and you would like to explore how to turn it into a successful business, or as the evidence would suggest, improve your odds at winning the Velocity pitch competition, you should join Cornerstone next term. Velocity and the Waterloo Commercialization Office, WATCO, are running the Upstart program this fall, which provides $15,000 in funding for teams who are creating IP and need extra support. It is open to UW community members at all levels, graduate, postdocs, undergrads, and staff. If you are a researcher thinking about commercialization of your work, or if you are already building out your own idea, this program is for you. And finally, if you are looking to join an active campus group that supports Velocity by helping plan and run events, build community, and connect students with entrepreneurship experiences, we would love to have you join the Velocity Campus Ambassador team. Many of them are helping out here today. Applications for next term close on August 14th. If you are interested in any of these programs, please come talk to anyone in a Velocity t-shirt, or you can come talk to me, and we would be happy to help you out. Okay, That's it. Please come back in 15 minutes, which I will say is 5 after 1, and we will resume with the last 3 teams.
I said, are you gonna be my girl? I knew that I wouldn't. I feel good. I knew that I wouldn't. So good, so good. I got you. Wow, I feel nice. A sugar and spice. I feel nice. A sugar and spice. So nice, so nice, I got you. When I hold you in my arms, I know that I can't do no wrong. And when I hold you in my arms, my love won't do you no harm. And I feel nice, that sugar and spice. I feel nice, like sugar and spice. So nice, so nice, I got you.
Okay. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, and we're back. All right, final three pitches, here we go. Nitron is a novel personality engine that emphasizes user behavior rather than dialogue and natural language processing, enhancing the human-like quality of video game non-player characters or personal assistants. Pitching for Nitron is Zach Waite, who comes to us from software engineering and studied at the Conrad School of Business and Entrepreneurship.
Hi, my name is Zach, and I'm here to present Nitron. We are a B2B SaaS company that is improving how developers integrate human behavior into virtual characters such as video game NPCs. So what's the problem we're addressing? I'm sure many people here have played video games with NPCs, and you've probably also seen the abnormal behavior that they can output. I've certainly had fun laughing at Skyrim NPCs, and while that's all well and good, when customers are laughing at your product, it's not great for your product's reputation. For those of you who don't play video games, it's akin to watching a movie with a bad actor. It brings you out of the immersion. So our solution uses machine learning and actions to output suggested behaviors. We're all familiar with ChatGPT and how it's able to create hyper-realistic dialogue. And there are companies that are integrating dialogue and NLP into NPCs, but that's only a piece of the puzzle. We are the other piece. We're integrating behavior into NPCs. So, we are a video game SDK, so we're obviously going to want to run this on client-side code. However, our MVP will be released as a cloud API. This will allow us to release new changes and patch bugs easily while we develop a system that we're confident will be ready for client-side code. This will primarily be of interest to independent developers and small companies. Releasing it as a cloud API will give us the chance to show our products to interested parties while making sure we have protected our IP and working towards having the legal and developmental support to release a system to run client-side code. So why Nitron? Gamers are clearly very interested in something like this, as shown by many studies. It has been proven that having smart NPCs do increase player retention. But we're not just here for the gamers, we're also here for the developers. We have a platform that will reduce the amount of development time necessary by reducing the amount of code in the code base. For anyone who's built video games, we will be a replacement for a lot of large state machines that you see in your NPCs. So why Nitron? Nitron is for better games. So why are we here? Our primary cost right now is compute. We have to build our models, host our website, and when we release our cloud API, the costs for our Firebase are going to go up as well. And in the future, we do plan to attend conferences, so that's why we need the 5K. We have built our V1 engine and are working on having a fully integrated SDK. We've released our website, and soon we'll be releasing an interactive demo that integrates with our cloud API to demonstrate our technology to anybody who is interested. Our team is made up of very skilled people, from machine learning architects to artistic people helping us with our demo. Thank you for listening.
Hey, I'm Dhruv, also on Team Nitron, and I'll be doing the Q&A.
You mentioned like cloud computing as an initial solution. What's the overhead of running the model without?
Well, the model is pretty easy to run. What mainly takes up cost is actually reserving the resources. So off the 5K, we expect 3K in total to be associated towards resources for training and later running the cloud computing. And that would probably get us to, including certain credits from AWS or whichever other cloud computer host we choose, that would probably get us like a few months into next year.
So how many AWS credits have you acquired?
We're currently looking for 100,000, so that's sort of like their base, what they give to a startup. It hasn't been approved yet, but we're in the process of getting that.
And once you have it, how quickly do you go to market? Do you start selling immediately?
Right, so we intend to have our demo done by sometime next month, so that's when our main outreach would begin. And we're hoping by the end of this year, we have our cloud SDK in client hands, and we're beginning to make money.
So do you have to raise money after that, or once you do that, do you become profitable?
We would become profitable, we become self-sufficient.
Thank you.
Can you just talk to me about some of the market research you've done, and have you been having pricing conversations, adoption conversations?
Right, so regarding research of the feasibility of the product, there are a couple out there. So Malmo University actually did almost like a clinical study on how the human attention span works with more and less believable AI. We've also been a part of many internet communities just gauging community interest, and there definitely is interest here. Also through those internet communities, we're currently in contact with like small indie game dev teams, and we're currently talking to them. Regarding pricing, we're going to get to that specific question once we have our demo up and ready, since then we feel like we're in more of a position of power to like demand a better price. But yeah.
Okay, and then so are you looking at these indie game teams as like kind of your initial beta testers for this then? Or yeah, tell me a bit about the B2B strategy.
Most definitely, yeah. Indie game dev teams are going to be our bread and butter because these teams primarily can't afford a dedicated AI team. Most larger game dev teams are going to get their own AI dev team, but smaller teams are primarily our customers.
So smaller, kind of more independent means it's a little bit more fragmented and harder to kind of get into that market. Can you talk a little bit about the strategy of how you would reach these folks?
Yeah, absolutely. So video game conferences are like one of our main outreach strategies. A lot of these game dev teams, which usually just consist of 4 to 5 people, show up to these game conferences. We also plan on getting in touch with companies such as Cubix. So these are companies that outsource game development to these indie game dev teams. So a lot of these smaller game dev teams reach out to Cubix and say, hey, we need help with this. So Cubix already has our whole customer demographic. Cubix is just one of the examples of such a company.
Great, thank you.
Empathize allows users to get appointments instantly with culturally aligned therapists and counselors. Here to pitch for Empathize is Bansi Donga, a Master's of Electrical and Computer Engineering.
Hi, I am Bansi, representing Empathize. Sorry. One of my team members recently faced mental health therapy due to a therapist who was from a different cultural background. Therefore, the therapy turned out to be ineffective. He also explored online platforms like BetterHelp and Talk Therapy, but they were very expensive. We talked to the acting director of the University of Waterloo Counseling Services and realized that the problem is faced by international students a lot. Right now, we don't have any concrete solution for this. According to our research, 49% of the potential client base insisted for first language during taking therapy sessions. Around 30% of the clients preferred cultural similarities over experience and cost. Currently, if as an immigrant, I try to choose offline therapy, the waiting times are really huge. For online therapy, we don't get to choose a therapist, and the online platforms are also very expensive. Here comes our platform, where we connect psychotherapists of similar backgrounds to the clients, giving them the liberty to prefer their own cultural language for therapy. Finding a therapist and scheduling an appointment should be as easy as doing online shopping. Our solution provides higher availability and lower prices because we get a pool of therapists to choose from. The therapist works as a freelancer on our platform. The current global market size for mental health therapy is around 37 billion, out of which our target size is 1.79 billion. Ours is a commission-based revenue model where we charge 10% from therapists for each session. So far, we have launched our product in June and onboarded 3 therapists successfully. University of Waterloo has also showed interest in promoting it once the product reaches a maturity stage. We plan to onboard 50 therapists by September and conduct our first session with the customers in August. Our target is international students, so we plan to collaborate with Canadian universities and colleges first. We plan to use the 5K for marketing purpose to increase customer engagement and onboard more number of therapists. Together, let's create a world where mental wellness knows no cultural bounds. Thank you.
Hi, this is Nirav. I will be doing Q&A.
So you mentioned international students as your target market, right? Do you potentially see broader use for this? Because I can see a lot of potential use cases where people might need these kinds of services. So just want to get a better understanding of that.
Yep. So to start with, it's really difficult to solve the problem for entire population. And to coming up with the solution for the international students, it's going to be easy for us to mature the platform. And moving forward, we plan to onboard therapists from the US and Canada as well. We plan to onboard therapists from the non-North American regions, and then after we plan to onboard therapists from North America as well.
I have one quick follow-up, if that's all right. So this is a very concentrated space, specifically like online platforms that are offering these kinds of services. Who do you see as your competition, and really what differentiates you?
Yep, sure. So there are other platforms like BetterHelp and Dog Therapy, Empower Me, but those platforms specifically focuses on the native North American population. Rather, we are focusing on the immigrants people, students coming to US and Canada. And that is something that will make us differentiate from them. Our revenue model is different from them. So our therapy or our platform is going to be way cheaper than the other existing platforms. And one more thing is, on this platform, they don't get to choose therapists. Like over there, we pay it, and then after they assign therapists to us. But rather on our platform, we will be able to choose the therapist as well, depending upon the reviews and the experience and background of the therapist.
Thank you.
Yep.
By having reviews on your therapists on the platform, how do you prevent sort of a runaway effect of people only wanting the ones that are well reviewed and prices shooting through the roof?
Sorry?
In terms of your pricing with your therapists and connecting them, if you have reviews, sort of human people tend to follow whatever the most popular things are. So how will you prevent some therapists having everybody and everyone else not getting anyone?
Yep, sure. So for that, there is something called bio, where all the information regarding the therapist, like his or her license, everything will be mentioned. And that should be the sufficient criteria for the person to select or to evaluate the person on their behalf, apart from the reviews given by other people.
Sorry. You mentioned 5K for marketing spend. That can go up in smoke pretty quickly when you're looking at launching two-sided marketplaces. What's your strategy for kind of that initial marketing spend, and what do you anticipate getting with that?
Sorry?
We're out of time. That's okay? Okay. So $5,000 in marketing spend. How are you going to spend that, essentially? Are you going to be targeting onboarding therapists initially, or are you going to be targeting the
Sure.
B2C?
It's going to be twofold. For the therapist, we are going to tie up with the third parties for the background verification for the therapist. And for the clients, we are planning to do the social media marketing. And for the tie up with universities and colleges, I don't think we will need any amount from the 5K, but we'll use 5K for the social media marketing. Yep. Thank you.
Our final team today is developing a cost-effective product to clean solar panels in a sustainable and economic way without the use of water or expensive cleaning robots. Pitching for Swish is Miswar Syed, a master's student in electrical and computer engineering and participant in Greenhouse's Social Innovators and Training Program.
Nearly 70% of all solar panels are installed in arid regions simply because that's where you have a lot of sunlight. But these regions are plagued with dust storms, leaving the solar panels covered in dust. Dust can reduce the efficiency of the solar panels by up to 60%, and in 2020, it resulted in a revenue loss of $5 billion. Currently, you can either clean the solar panels using fresh water, which is a massive waste of water and time, or you can use cleaning robots, which are very expensive and suffer from part failures. This is a solar farm in Saudi Arabia, and it has millions of solar panels for as far as the eye can see. To clean a solar farm this big, it requires 10 million liters of water or an investment of $120 million in cleaning robots. There needs to be a more sustainable and economical way to clean the solar panels. Introducing Swish. At Swish, we are developing transparent screens that retrofit on existing solar panels and can instantly clean the dusty solar panels using nanotech. Swish is completely water-free and has no moving parts. Here is a video of a dust-covered solar panel cell retrofitted with the Swish screen. And with just the flip of a switch, the dust is removed instantly. With the current version of the prototype, you are able to remove more than 90% of the dust and restore more than 75% of the lost energy. And that is impressive, but we can do better and improve those numbers. And that's exactly why we're now building the second version of the prototype. Over the lifetime of 20 years, using freshwater costs $30 per panel per year, and this includes the cost of water desalination, transportation, and labor costs. Using cleaning robots, the cost is $25, and this includes the cost of the robot, energy consumption, and maintenance costs. With Swish, the cost is just $5, and this includes the installation and operation costs. The solar panel cleaning market is worth $70 billion, and we're entering this market through Saudi Arabia, where we have already established connections with the key players. We've had conversations with several companies in Saudi Arabia, one of which has already agreed to a pilot, and we have a letter of intent for a pilot in Nigeria. We also have multiple interviews set up with different companies. We've made amazing progress, and this includes building a prototype and filing a patent. We're now building the second version of the prototype, and later this year, we'll be scaling up and conducting field tests. Next year, we have pilots scheduled in Nigeria and Saudi Arabia. We're asking for $5,000 to scale our product and conduct the pilots. We have an incredible team, myself, the inventor, with 3 years of R&D experience in the clean energy space. We also have hardware and simulation specialists and an award-winning expert with 15 years of experience in nanotech and material science. At Swish, we are unlocking the full potential of solar energy. Thank you.
So how much do you need to get this off the ground? Like, I'm guessing there's going to be manufacturing of some sort. So what's the level that you're going to need to raise to get that?
I'm sorry, could you repeat? How much do I need for what?
In terms of entering into manufacturing, it sounds like you have it working. So
yes.
Next level is manufacturing and sales. How much do you need to raise to enter into manufacturing?
Okay, so right now we're focusing on the pilots, and we can actually take two routes where we can sell it as a retrofit, or we can incorporate it into the manufacturing process. Right now we're focusing on selling it as a retrofit, and the cost is not that expensive. And the reason we're going for retrofit is because the solar panels have already been installed mostly. So if we can show them that this works, and then in the future we're planning to have it like building a solar dust-proof solar panels. So after that we will sell the solar panels. So right now we're just focusing on selling it as a retrofit. I hope that answers the question.
So in terms of building the product as a retrofit, where will that occur, and how cost-intensive is it?
Oh, okay. So the process for scaling these type of technology, it already exists. It's called a roll-to-roll manufacturing process, and we've already identified companies within Canada who are able to do this. And for the prototype, it's not that expensive. Like for industrial solar panel, for one solar panel, it would cost less than $50 to scale it to the size of a solar panel.
Thank you.
Have you done any math on the cost recovery for this? So you spend X amount per panel. How long does that take for the business to recoup?
So you mean the payback period?
With energy, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay, so I haven't really done the math, but I guess since the payback period depends on the initial investment divided by the savings per year, and since we're saving a lot, it's going to have the shortest payback period.
Yeah, I would think that that would be a really awesome metric to know, like when you go out and have these conversations, because I would imagine it looks like it could be a potentially short payback period.
Yes.
Have you looked at other markets or applications of this in addition to solar?
In addition to solar, yeah, basically any surface that has dust, we can potentially use it over there.
Have you done any market research on those, or you're just really focusing in on this application first?
So right now we're just focusing on solar panels.
Good. How did you get the pilots initially?
It's through the existing connections that we had. So I graduated from Saudi Arabia, and one of the biggest companies in the world, Aramco, is right beside my former university. So we were able to talk to the head of the renewable energy department, which was managing the largest project in Saudi Arabia. So that's how we got started.
And sorry, I missed, was it a paid pilot or is it, yeah, can you explain a little bit more about the
Okay, so the one in Saudi Arabia is not a paid pilot, but the one in Nigeria is actually going to be a paid pilot. And the thing is, we actually reached out to them rather early, so they still don't have solar panels installed, but they're in the project planning phase, so they're going to have it installed early next year. And so at the moment, they haven't looked into other cleaning solutions. So when I presented them their idea, they were really excited to test it out. So if this goes well, and if everything's okay, their solar farm might be the first one to have our screens installed.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, that concludes our pitches. Now the judges will leave to deliberate and choose 4 winners of $5,000. But you in this room can have your say in who takes home some prize money as well. Scan the QR code on the screen, or go to slido.com and enter the code to be taken to a poll and vote for your favorite team's pitch. The winner of the People's Choice will be announced at the end of the event and will take home $500. Please take a minute to enter your picks now. And while we are preparing the stage, I would like to introduce you to our guest for the Fireside Chat. Akash Vaswani is a general partner at the Velocity Fund. Akash is also an alum from the University of Waterloo and Velocity program. He founded 2 companies, was an engineer at Apple, a team lead at Palantir, and a director of tech at Curbflow, all before starting his own AI-focused venture fund. Welcome, Akash. How's it going?
Good.
Good. Glad.
Great to see all the pitches. You guys did a fantastic job.
Yeah, and thanks for joining us today. It's much appreciated. It's always nice to have an alum come back, especially of Velocity. So I just gave the audience your story very, very, very briefly, but there's a lot, there's a lot that happened there. So I want to ask you, you're a graduate of the University of Waterloo, a graduate of the Velocity program. If you go all the way back to when you were a student first entering Waterloo, did you know you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Did you know you wanted to create startups? Did you know you wanted to enter venture capital? Or how did that whole process take place?
Yeah, absolutely not. I came in here wanting to study engineering. I thought I would graduate and get a job at one of the OEMs that are, between here and Toronto on the highway. When I came in first year was like the second year that Velocity residence existed. So I was a bit curious about what was going on there. I met some people who were currently residents there. This is around the time that Kik had just kind of taken off, and they're becoming a real startup, and there was like the stuff in the news about how they'd raised millions of dollars and how this was now going to be something that people were using, and that was really cool to me. And so I wanted to get involved with Velocity, and at that point I had no idea what a startup was or what the economics of starting a company looked like or any of that. And I was just in second year, and I joined the Velocity, and then through 4 more years of programming, eventually learned more and more, and yeah, got a chance to try different things.
And you spun out a company after graduation, or how long were you working on it as a student, and how did that go?
So started my first startup when I was in second year over here. Back then, the Velocity pitch competition had just started, so that was the second ever iteration of that. So we won that. At that point, it was $25K, and we were handed the check, and we were told, we're giving this to you because we like your team, but your idea is really shit. So figure out something else to go do with this money. We took 4 months off school, we did an e-co-op, and we tried working on a startup. We were able to get some revenue, realized the unit economics were bad, shut that down. And then fourth year, I started another company, and this time had a better idea of what I was doing, went into a better industry, found a problem that people actually had, and then that startup ended up doing quite a bit better, and that one ended up getting acquired.
Okay, excellent. And so it sounds like you learned at a very early stage the value of validation, of knowing when you are on a terrible idea, and how difficult that might be, because you think, you know, that's great, I want a pitch competition, everyone loves what I'm doing, I'm just going to keep going, and then you have somebody tell you, no, actually, that might not be the case. So how did you learn about validation as quickly as you did before you graduated to get to know that you were onto a good idea?
It wasn't quick. It was 8 months of trying to make this other company work, and talking to hundreds of customers and realizing that what we were building needed to change. And when we started getting revenue, we were super happy. We were like, great, we made $10. And then the next month we made 20. And it's like, that can't even pay for all of us to go out and get a meal. So it was not quick by any means. Yeah, it was just, you get beaten down and you pick yourself back up and you're like, let's not make the same mistake again.
Great, great. Maybe you can tell us a bit about your journey into AI and how you got into that, because you said you started an AI fund eventually, right, or AI-focused fund. So how did you get into artificial intelligence?
Sure. So my undergrad here was in mechatronics engineering, but I was more focused on the software side of things. After graduation, before my company got acquired, I'd actually already left at that point. And I'd gone and worked for a company called Palantir as a data scientist, and then kind of just like, that was just the industry I was in for 10 years after that, as a team lead, as a director. I started doing part-time grad school in machine learning along the way, so a lot of my career had been focused on that. I saw the opportunity in creating an AI fund about 3 years ago, saw all the new technology that was coming out, realized I had a really good network with Waterloo and Velocity, all the kind of alumni from there, from like Palantir and Apple, where I'd worked. I figured I know a lot of smart people who are starting really great companies. I'd make a lot of money by investing in them, and that was how that happened.
Okay, okay. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't get your thoughts on the current AI wave that's going through, and what are the opportunities for students who want to get into this space and are tempted to do so?
Yeah, I'm going to answer this question in two parts. First, about the AI wave, and second, about what the opportunities are for students. What's interesting to know about technology and about machine learning in specific, if you look at the last 20, and that's a pretty massive gap. And so there's a huge kind of financial opportunity there. The other part of the opportunity is a bit more qualitative, in that, at least for me as a student, I would have never started a startup if it wasn't for the exposure that I got on campus. And so in a way, and if you talk to like some of the founders that have gone through the program, who now have very successful companies, we keep hearing the refrain of, this company would not have existed if it wasn't for Velocity. It's not Velocity helped us a lot. It's like, we just would have never gone down this path in the first place. And these are companies that are, scaling anywhere, that are currently worth 300 million to like billions of dollars today. And they're all saying the same thing. So we think that the existence of this fund will help catalyze more great companies, and will really help more companies succeed just by getting them that acceleration early, so they don't die out in those early stages, or it can help them kind of get in 1 year where they would have otherwise gotten in 3 years. And that's really like the case for why this exists.
Okay. Yeah, and it sounds like it's filling quite a gap, and it sounds like you did a lot of analysis on that before you made your decision. So, so that's really great. So I think I'll ask the question for the entire room is, okay, how do I get an investment?
Yeah, absolutely. So not every business is going to be a business that needs or qualifies for venture capital investment. We are really focused on companies that are trying to be extremely ambitious, companies that can have massive growth, that can kind of follow this, the S curve a bit, that you'd want to see there. And so if you are creating those kinds of companies, the things we'd want to see from you is, at least at the earliest stages, is just evidence that you've spoken to enough customers before getting into it, and some sort of evidence that you have some sort of second level insight into the problem. And that's really what we're looking for over here. We also want to make sure that you tick some basic boxes in that your cap table is clean, stuff like that. But those are more kind of sanity checks than requirements.
Yeah, that's great. So, and keep in mind that there will be an audience Q&A section. So if you want to go into any more detail with Akash there, get your questions ready.
Also, I didn't talk about process there, which is if you want to apply and you want to like work with us, the easiest way to do that is just to email me, and we can kick off the process. We like talking to teams, even if they're not ready to raise yet. We're doing this all the time. Happy to just kind of connect, tell you kind of what we want to see, and the email is literally akash@velocity.fund. So that's the easiest way to get in touch.
That's great. Yeah, and if you can't remember that, just come talk to anyone from Velocity, and we'll be able to help you out there. Now, it's interesting you mentioned in your description that not every company is venture scalable or should even be looking for venture money, and I think that's a real important thing for students to understand and define, because it's very easy to get swept up in, I need investment, I need investment, I need to get my seed round, I need to get my pre-seed round. This doesn't work if I don't get money, but not realizing that that is not the only path available to you. So I wonder if you could go into a little more detail into something that you probably like see quite often, which is a team that has a very good business plan, a very good leadership team, good insight, but is not venture scalable. And then how should they be thinking about growing their business rather than taking investment from a VC?
Well, the most traditional way to grow a business is you take your profits and you reinvest that back into your business, right? If you want to grow beyond that, there's a ton of financing options that are available. You can go and get loans from a bank. You can go and there's a whole bunch of options available there. Also, while traditional venture capital is really focused on fast-growing businesses that can get to huge market caps and stuff like that, that's not everybody who invests in companies. Venture capital is a small part of this. Corporate venture arms, for example, have different incentives than traditional VCs do. Angel investors all have their own criteria that they look for. Family offices have their own criteria. So there's like anybody who would put in money into a venture fund would be looking at other sorts of businesses too. And so there's a lot of different groups out there that could be a good fit for you, even if the traditional kind of power law invest in 100 companies and hope one of them is worth like $10 billion sorts of investment firms aren't a good match for you. Did that kind of capture your question, or is there more to it?
Yeah, I think that enlightens us a bit, because there is, so even if you don't necessarily have a venture backable business, we'll say, that there is still opportunity for investment at a very early stage, because you've created a good business plan, because you can relate well and communicate well with investors and find out what might be driving them to invest, rather than just assuming that it's only about making 10 times on their money and other such things. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yes. Yeah, there's definitely other avenues out there. The one thing I will say is, though, the idea of like go based on an idea and a pitch deck and like go and raise money, that's pretty much like a very small niche of like most investing that happens. It's like pre-seed deals, like at a certain stage, in certain cities in the world where that exists. And for the most part, when you're going and talking to any of these groups for investment, they're expecting to see a little bit more.
Okay. All right, so how should the students in this room be thinking about their projects and companies in relation to the fund? So what if they want to get investment one day? What should they be thinking and doing right now?
Well, they should be focused on trying to create a solid, fast-growing business. And what that means is before developing a product or doing any of that, they should be going and talking to customers, and they should have a really good understanding of what's my customer archetype, what are their pain points, what am I solving for? And I would say that's probably the biggest thing they should be doing right now. And I guess the second thing would be make sure that as you're kind of exploring those customer archetypes, that there is a big enough market for you to target over there. And that doesn't need to be evident. That doesn't need to be what you start off doing. You can totally start off by solving a huge pain point for a small market, as long as you have some ideas for how you can leverage that product, leverage that business to eventually move into a larger market.
Okay, good. And I think with that, we'll open up questions from the audience. Does anyone have any questions? If you do, please raise your hand and we'll run a mic over to you. Armin, there's one. There's one. Okay.
Test. Okay. What's the best way to seek mentorship if you're creating a business and you're not looking for funding?
Seek mentorship in general or from me specifically?
From anyone who could help grow the business.
Yeah. If you're on campus, you should connect with the Velocity campus team. The Velocity campus team will help all sorts of businesses, not just ones that are going down the VC route or not just ones that are trying to be these massive companies. Like Velocity campus really just helps to support entrepreneurship all around. And so they're the right people to talk to if you are based here.
And I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the other entrepreneurial groups on campus as well that are available. So depending on what kind of business you're looking to run, depending on how you like to learn, there are a lot of options available to you. So if you learn best in a classroom environment, and that's how you want to learn about entrepreneurship, Conrad School is sitting right over here. If you are working on something in sustainability or something in social good. Greenhouse is sitting just a little bit higher up over there, and you can talk to them. And I don't know if Paul from the Peace Incubator is here, but if you are working in Peace Tech, that specific field, there is the Peace Incubator as well, and you could talk to them. Now, we are all happy to guide you to whichever location works best for you. So just having a conversation with any of us, any Velocity member, and we can find the best fit for you. So I guess the overall message is that there is a place for you if you're interested in entrepreneurship while on Waterloo campus.
Going off on what they said, do you also have something for a UW alum if they're interested in entrepreneurship?
For alumni, they should go directly to the incubators. So we do have our downtown incubator facility, which is for full-time teams. We do have a Venture Ready program, which is designed for very early stage companies that have high potential to be able to get programming advisory support and as set up shop there. There are some Venture Ready teams in the room, so if you do want to talk to them, they are around. But that is the best place for you to go if you are already graduated and no longer a student.
Hi, Akash. I'm Bruce Wong, a current UCO-op student. Just want to ask about your AI fund. Are there any trends on the current companies that you see kind of going into the fund, like kind of what they're trying to do essentially?
Yeah, the AI fund is basically just rolled into the Velocity fund now. So it's just one thing that we're investing out of. In terms of trends, yeah, like massive volume of anything to do with generative AI is like, there's definitely a massive trend there. In terms of where those are going, I'm seeing a lot of like multimodal stuff. I'm seeing a lot of generation for different sorts of like picture applications. So some sort of combination of like use stable diffusion, use an LLM, and try and create something together. Looking at kind of like entering the art sphere, looking at doing like personalized photography, stuff like that. So those are big trends. Is there a follow-up?
Stuff like stable diffusion LLMs, it seems like they're kind of consumer-based. Is that what you're kind of seeing more? It's like in the consumer market and not really the B2B side?
Definitely seeing a lot more consumer ideas in terms of just like the raw numbers of like applicants for funding. But I think that's generally always true when there's a new technology. Most people think of consumer ideas with that technology.
And just to follow up on that one, what are you most excited to see? And what are you most excited to see AI and large language models be applied to, just with what you're doing?
Yeah, my non-answer there is I'm always excited to see revenue.
Like a true venture capitalist.
I'm generally more interested in seeing like business applications and places where things can just like fit right into workflows and make things slightly better. I think that's really cool because there's usually a very clear case you can make there of like who's going to pay for this. Or anything that like makes me sit back and go like, wow, this is gonna be one step closer to AGI.
Cool, awesome.
Sort of reflecting on your path that led you to where you are right now, is there anything that you would do differently or like some advice you would give to your younger self that you might do something differently or stay the same or something like that?
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna have to repeat myself there in terms of just like talk to more customers and don't waste your time building something. Like the first business we built was in 2011. And we were building a no-code tool to create mobile apps. And it was really cool. We could just like spin out a new mobile app in 3 hours with this no-code tool that we had built, except we had spoken to like maybe 5 customers. And we didn't really realize how this could be used. And we were like, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna sell this to create white label apps for restaurants. Absolutely horrible business market to get into. And it didn't matter like that we had built this really cool tech. So I'm just gonna like reiterate that and go like, just don't waste time building stuff that nobody wants.
Thanks. Sorry, last time I didn't introduce myself. I'm Charles. So question, when I was listening to advice from founders like on YouTube and stuff before, there was this common idea that people should build solutions to existing problems and not be caught up on new technology that's like nice and shiny at the time. But this seemed to contradict itself with like the rise of ChatGPT and other AI technologies. It looks like people are just like creating wrappers around ChatGPT or just taking whatever's new and then shipping that and somehow trying to solve some sort of problem. So does the initial idea of try to focus more on the problem and build a solution around that still stay valid, or is that like counteracted by the fact that we're at a special time in history where technology is just growing so quick, so the dynamics have changed?
We are not at a special time in history, would be my take. And I could be wrong. There is an argument to be made that if you have a very clear vision for something that you believe absolutely should exist, right? It doesn't exist right now. There's no existing customer base for this, but you think that if you did create it, everybody on the planet would be a user, and that's an exaggeration. But you feel like there could be a mass market for this. Like if you're creating the PC, for example, right? There is an argument to be made that you stick with your vision, you go for it. That is a harder path to take, and there have been some great businesses that have been built by doing that. But most businesses that try and do that fail. And if you're looking at startups a bit more academically, a bit more, how do we get good at this thing, and how do we create a repeatable process that I can do again and again and again to create value, then going with a customer first approach and trying to find a problem that you're solving is the better way to do things. So it's not like, when it comes to this stuff, like nothing is absolute, right? These are just like, these are generally better ways to do this. And that's kind of all startup advice kind of falls down into that bucket. Like, you can take any popular startup advice that you can find on YouTube or anywhere else, and you can probably find an example that goes against that was very successful.
Thanks. As a quick follow-up to that, so what's your take on how university students should start startups? Are you like on the side of like PG, who's like, oh, just build a lot, iterate a lot, and then hopefully one of those things will take off? Or are you more of the side of like, oh, just follow your curiosity, don't really worry about startups, and then eventually if something arises, pursue that?
I think those are both valid. Those are both valid. I don't think it's an either or. I think you can follow your own journey and see where that takes you, right? If you're going into it like, I definitely want to do this. Like I don't want to go and work for someone else. I want to create my own company, and you're going in with that sort of mindset, then absolutely, like experiment with business models and see what sticks. And if you aren't committed to like, yes, I definitely want to start a company, then just follow your curiosity, like do things that you find interesting. And that's a great way to create a valuable skill set. And that valuable skill set could either be useful for you in a startup setting, or it could be really useful to you at a big company, or it could be really useful to you in academia.
Well said. That's the message that I'm trying to pass around campus, that you have a real opportunity right here to try something, follow your interests, follow your passions, try to build something new, and you're not going to fall very far. You're in a very sheltered environment here at the university. And developing that skill set and just working on an idea that way, figuring out what a problem is, coming up with viable solutions, checking those solutions against the people who would be most responsive to them. That's useful in any career choice you select, be it entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial activity at a big company, or even in things like advocacy and research. That is a fantastic skill set to have, one that employers are looking for, and one you can really test out and learn how to do right here on campus. I can see that the judges have come up with their final results, so we will get the show back on the road. Thank you very much, Akash, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, I would like to now welcome the judges to the stage, who will give some general feedback to the entire audience.
Hi there. So first off, thank you to everyone who pitched and everyone who showed up. I've watched these for a number of years, and they're really encouraging to watch every time. I participated in the 5K myself, but I feel like I cheated now because I was one of the last ones who did it online, and you guys had to stand up here in front of people and actually panic. So I congratulate you on that. I just want to point out some general things that I feel, having watched this for so long and knowing this school as well as I do, and that is, we are Waterloo. Everything we build works. People know it. This is an amazing school. You guys never have to worry about selling the tech side of stuff. But do remember that tech is only 10% of any business. So focus on selling, and I think you're all going to be successful.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo, really impressed with the caliber of the pitches. Usually by the time I see pitches, it's companies that are either really nearing investment or actively seeking investment. And I think a lot of these, you're really on par with that. So great job. You can tell you did a lot of practice and a lot of work with the Velocity crew on getting the pitches to the level they were at. My advice would just be to just practice more. So practice. The more people you get in front of, the more questions you get, and that will inform kind of where the gaps are in your pitch. So it'll help to give you feedback on an ongoing basis. I've raised for multiple companies now at this point, and it's something that you're always actively doing, is actively honing that pitch based on those questions that you're getting. So other piece is just know your audience, and I think you guys did a great job of that today, but just be careful with acronyms, things like that. So just the general understanding, you kind of get lost sometimes if you overuse acronyms, and then just making sure, like, so you can include demos if you can, but it's hard. 3 minutes is a really short amount of time to get your message across, and just don't feel badly. Like, if you feel like you didn't do the best job, you probably did better than you think. Like, I still hate speaking in front of people, but practice just really does help to kind of get over that hurdle.
So just piggybacking off of what James and Amber said, I thought all the pitches were very, very high caliber and was super impressed by all of them. Like they said, really driving home the business case for your product. So I thought like the technical aspect of it was phenomenal, but really driving home what is the problem, what is the solution, really the basics, the bread and butter, how is it different from the competition. I think if you can sort of sell it that way and pitch it that way, that'll really increase the caliber of your pitches. But overall, I thought it was done very, very well. Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations all of you.
Okay, we are now ready to hand out some checks. We are going to start out with the People's Choice Award today. So tonight's People's Choice winner is Empathize. Okay, and our first winner of $5,000 is Swish. And the winner of our second $5,000 grant is Pragmatica. And the winner of our third $5,000 prize is Entangled Vision. And the final winner is IsoBio. Okay, thank you all thank you to everyone who came out today, our teams and especially our judges. Thank you to the Velocity team for all your hard work in putting together this event, especially Emily Martin, who is the conductor of all things 5K. We hope to see you all back in November for the fall edition of the Velocity Pitch Competition. Thank you very much for your participation tonight, and we will see you next time.
And I do believe what we rely on when I lay it